Now there is one more thing that I wanted to try. I wanted to try a UV cure type of material. So I bought a few things and tried them out, and I can kind of show you my results here. See, my thought was, wouldn't it be nice if you had a gel that's really nice and thick? You could sculpt it into waves and crests and whatever you want in the water, then immediately hit it with the UV light and it would harden solid and glossy and you'd be done. I thought that was a great idea. Come to find out that it doesn't really work that way. I wish it did, but so far nobody has a product that really does that. But at least let me show you what my results are from messing with this stuff. This first product I tried is hard gel builder. It's a nail builder, so it's for fingernails. This is when, well, I don't get a manicure, but whenever people get their fingernails done, what they do is they put a little form around your finger, they paint this stuff on, and they hit it with a UV light and harden it. And it's really hard, clear, glossy plastic. And I thought, well, that would be great for waves. Come to find out, the problem with this stuff is the setting time. So if I took the top off of this so you can see it, whoa, this is still pretty thin. Okay, you can see that this is a gel, right? And this is a pretty thick gel. And I thought, well, that would be great to make waves with, wouldn't it? If it just hardened like that. You know, there's not really much air bubbles in it. And if I could just, you know, harden it that way, that would be fine. The setting time is the problem. Because if you take your UV light and you shine it on, you have to shine it on for 3 solid minutes or longer before it does it. Usually what people do is they set their fingers underneath a UV light, and it's a pretty strong one, in order to get this to set up. So there's really, by the time this sets up, it's already flowed back down smooth, and it's not really very useful for that. So the next thing that came in mind next to this was a UV cured glue. And there are several different kinds of UV cured glue. Now this one right here I got from Loctite and tried it out. It did not work very well at all. It's really thin and I wanted something thicker. And I swear I put the light on it for 3 minutes and it still didn't harden. And you'd think as a glue you'd want something that would glue it together, you shine a light on it and it's done. But this did not do the trick. And this is like a $40 bottle. It's like, geez, that was a waste of money. Well, at least I saved you from spending $40 on something that didn't work. But I did run across this odd brand, and it worked surprisingly well. X Factor Liquid Lock. It says lay it on, light it up, and lock it down. This is a UV cured glue, and I'll give you a quick example of it. And the other thing that worked pretty well, there's a company called Loon that makes fishing lures, and they have a UV cure material that they use on their fishing lures. They've got one called Flow and they've got one called Thick, and the Thick is really my personal favorite for how it works. This UV cured material still does not work really well for water for a couple of reasons, but it can work. And I'll go into the details of what happens here when you try to use it. Now the first thing I'm going to demonstrate here is this liquid lock. We'll see what it does. You just kind of unscrew the lid and you got to cut the tip off of it. And this pours a bit like honey. And once you put it on, you know, you've got all the time in the world to mess with it. And it goes on as a gel kind of like this. This is a gel that reminds you a lot of epoxy. And, you know, you can spread it out and it'll flow back down. You can spread it out and it'll flow back down. And the trick is to try to get it to harden up in kind of a wave shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this with the UV light. And I'm going to just kind of move it back and forth. And this stuff will set up fairly quick. So I'm going to move the knife back and forth. And you can kind of see that nothing's happening. Oh, okay, you see that? You see how it kind of gels? It's starting to turn into jelly. And then it's starting to harden up. Okay, so it really didn't take too long with a UV light. I spread it across there, and now this stuff is pretty much cured. It's hard, it's clear, and you've got kind of a regular surface to the water. Now the problem with this material is that it does not thicken up when you hit it with a UV light. What it does is when you hit it with a UV light, it skins over. So the very outer skin starts to harden, but what's underneath is still just as liquid as it ever was. So once you shine a light on it and that skin hardens and you scrape over it, you're basically just kind of tearing that skin that formed on the surface. You'll have basically a bunch of teared up skin on the surface when you get done. Now, it will make an irregular surface for you, but it's not really the kind of texture that I was looking for water. So I was hoping that what the UV would do is it would slowly thicken up like epoxy, get thicker and thicker, you'd have time to work with it, and then you'd harden it the final amount. It doesn't work that way. It forms the skin, you tear the skin, and now you've got a texture of torn skin on the surface of your water. Now, the other material I want to show you is the Loon UV Clear Thick Fly Finish. It's basically the same thing. They give you a couple little squeeze tips, and they've also got this thing that's like a fingernail polish paint bottle. And I thought the fingernail polish paint bottle worked pretty well for just applying the stuff. And it's quite a bit thicker. It's thicker than the Liquid Lock material, so I'm thinking that you can kind of get kind of a nice texture you want, and then harden it up, and you don't have to run your stick through it after it's hardened up and tear that skin. So I'm going to go ahead and apply a little bit of this to the surface here, and then it looks like it's kind of irregular. So I'm just going to kind of run my stick through it, get kind of an odd pattern here for this, and then I'll hit it with the UV light. And this stuff sets up pretty quick. So I'm hitting it with the UV light for, I don't know, 10 seconds or so. Let's see. Still a little bit liquidy. Nope, that's it. That's it. It's hardened up now. So that's what the Loon material does. You hit it with the light, and it hardens up pretty good. And it made a little bit better of a surface because you could apply it thick and then hit it with the light, and then it's done. However, I think one of the best uses for this UV curing material would be to actually make items that flow. Because if you have fishing line, and here I've got a piece of packaging tape flowing down from the top here down to the ground, if we wanted to do a little waterfall effect, we can take this Loon Clear, or we can use the glue and spread it over. I'm going to use the Loon material, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint it onto the surface of this tape here. And it goes on pretty thick. I think I got more of it on the handle than I do on the brush. We'll pour it down like that, and it will kind of lump up and be thick, but not really want to flow exactly. So here'd be the water on the top, and here's the water sort of flowing down the tape, kind of like that. And so what you can do is, let's put this away so I don't expose my whole bottle here. And I'm just going to kind of run the stick up through it here, over the edge, kind of up and down, and then you kind of get it where you want, and then you go ahead and hit it with a UV light. So you can kind of see that it gives a good flowy texture there, and it's a wide strip, so you could actually make more of a river look like it's going down, and it will hold the shape and it will harden immediately. And for waterfalls and fountains and things like that, you're not going to need a lot of material, and this material is expensive. So for the bottom of the waterfall, I'm going to apply a little bit thicker amount down right here at the base. Got kind of a good thick bead of it there. And I got my light handy, and I got me a cut-off toothpick here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of tear this up down here while it's going. Now, if we get the broken skin thing happening down here, it's not going to matter because we want this to be pretty rough at the bottom. There we go. So that looks like it roughs up pretty well, and rough works for the bottom splash of a waterfall. I do intend to probably do a project of some kind that will actually show how to use this a little bit better. I think this has got a really nice application for waterfalls as opposed to silicone caulking and other materials like that. Another quick UV material to show you is one called Rapid Fix. This one is a refill pack that comes with 2 tubes in it. You can also get one that's just 1 tube and a flashlight, but I already had the flashlight, so I didn't need the extra flashlight. Now this one acts really similar to the Loon stuff. I think I prefer the Loon stuff because it's just, it's thicker. But this stuff will also work for, like for fountains and spouts and stuff like this. When you put this on, this is actually pretty thin. You can kind of see how it runs. That's about the thickness of it, and it actually cures pretty fast. It cures about the fastest of any material that I've seen. So what you can do is you can take a stick and run a stick through it, and once you hit it with the UV light, it sets up really quick. So you see that skin already. You're kind of hardening the skin and tearing up the skin, and then boom, it's set. And it's interesting that this stuff almost looks like blue putty, but it's actually crystal clear. So when you put a UV light on it, it actually kind of shows its light, but you can just kind of hold it on there and it will actually set up pretty quick. Now look at how torn up that is. That I think would do good for the bottom of a spillway or something where water's actually hitting it and you want rough water. This would actually do good for really rough texture water when it's hard to get anything else to texture.